but we become very intimate with the spirits that we call on regularly, right? Like each of them seems to have a different presence and personality. You know, I laugh a lot with Waukesha, you know, and I didn't meet her in her body, right? Yeah. I met her through this work.
It's a very important practice. Hashtags are way more than a hashtag. It is literally almost resurrecting a spirit so they can work through us to get the work that we need to get done.
Almost resurrecting a spirit so they can work through us to get the work that we need to get done.
It's so important, not just for us to be in direct relationship to our people who've passed, but also for them to know we've remembered them. I believe so many of them work through us.
When we say the names, right? So we speak their names, we say her name, say their names. We do that all the time, that you kind of invoke that spirit, and then those spirits actually become present with you. Right?
Spirits actually become present with you.
Spirituality is at the center of Black Lives Matter.
I think about the first night that we gathered and the summoning in of ancestors to space. All Black Lives Matter meetings and protests begin with the pouring of libation. The way that we choose to pour libation most often recognizes first those whose bodies have been stolen through state-sanctioned violence. So we call names like Kenneth Ross Jr. and Waukesha Wilson and Keisha Michael and Michelle Shirley and Keith Bursey and so many others who we fight on behalf of. So we begin by calling those names. And then we begin calling the names of those who we call our warrior ancestors. We summon them into the work as well. And we offer prayer that we are good heirs. And then the third group that we call is usually we ask people to call on a bloodline or spirit line ancestor in their own lives. As we call the names, we usually have whoever's pouring the libation say the name and have the entire crowd repeat the name, and then we say the word Ashe. And so that's how we open all of our Black Lives Matter demonstrations. And we call this our sacred duty. This is our sacred duty. It's what we're summoned in to do. So once we call the libation, start calling the names and pour the libation, it kind of brings everything into alignment, and you can feel the shift in energy among the folks who are gathered.
body. In the name of Jesus, say, I feel a restoration of God all over you. Cry out to him. Let me get down in you.
Here, and I'm not going to be much longer with y'all. I understand we need to move beyond color. I'm not about that, but y'all raised it. If you start it, I'll end it for you. Don't start nothing, it won't be nothing. But we got a problem. Black people got a problem. Now we can move to color blindness and always look at the man by the content of his character, never the color of his skin. I'm down for that. You get my vote. Yay and amen. I'm for that. But before we get there, we need to hear some truth. Black people and white folk. Black people got a problem. And it's a God problem. When black people see the world, I don't care. You can train them. You can train a black man to be a physician. You can train him to be an astrophysicist. You can train him to be a lawyer, but you can't train him to understand the world. He doesn't know. I'm telling you. There's not 2 cents worth of difference between a mass murderer. There's not 2 cents of difference between a petty thief that's locked away in prison than a black doctor when it comes to understanding the world. Listen, you listen to me. We got to deal with this. And we need to begin to acknowledge it, talk about it, ask God to help us, because only God can help black people where they are. Black people had Africa, that big old continent over there. They never built one boat that was seaworthy, not one. There's not one monument in Africa, in all of Africa. I know you're talking about Egypt. Egypt is not Africa. There are no great cities that were built. Even before the first colonization of white people coming to the shores of Africa or the slave ships, black men built nothing. No sewer system, no houses above one level, and none of them made out of stone, all of them made out of grass and wood. Black men, before the white man ever got to Africa. The worst thing that could ever happen to South Africa was when they gave it to Nelson Mandela and black folk. That was a great nation. Now, notwithstanding apartheid was wrong, we all know it's wrong. I'm against it. There should have been some other resolution, though, than turning it over to Nelson Mandela. Disease, AIDS, and crime is running wild in Johannesburg. They're killing one another over there. They're dying of sickness. The government is mismanaged. The people who ran the nation are now leaving the nation because black folk don't know how to run no nation. They don't know how, and we need to admit it. I know you don't like it, but you need to stop shucking and jiving. We got a problem. Nigeria produces oil every year, yet the children over there are hungry and pot-bellied and walking barefoot. We got a problem. You talk about the Hutus and the Tutsis. Look what's going on in Zimbabwe now with Mugabe. We got a problem, black folk. And forget about Zimbabwe and South Africa, Nigeria. Look at what y'all have done in Harlem. You can't even hold on to Harlem. We got a problem. Black folk don't understand the world. You can get mad with me all you want. You can say what you, but you can't prove me wrong. Now, I'm not saying this because I hate black folk. I'm saying it because I love you enough to tell the truth. And the only person going to ever help us get out of the situation is going to be God. There's something wrong with the black man's mind. There's something wrong with his mind. He does not understand the world. He doesn't. I don't care if he learned medicine. He doesn't understand the world. He can't even hold on to Harlem. When he was here, he moved out. We got to talk to the Lord. People, we got to talk to God. And black women, Shirley Chisholm, Harriet Tubman, Coretta King, one of her boys. Yeah, okay, then we got a black president. But you black women, what's wrong with y'all? Y'all gonna let that white woman What's wrong with you black women voting for Barack? Don't you understand? It should have been a black womb if you're going to have a black president. What's wrong with you? Y'all ain't got no sense, you black women. Your men treat you like the dogs, like your dogs. They walk all over you. They make you pay the bills at home, and then the preachers pimp you in the churches and make you pay the bills. Y'all crazy black women buying these black men private jets, the tune of $50 million for a nigga to ride around in a private jet, and you talk about, look at our pastor. What's wrong with y'all women? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? And what's wrong with a black man that would take that kind of money out of a poor neighborhood and buy himself a private jet? What's wrong with y'all niggas? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you, black women? What's wrong with you voting for Barack Obama? What's wrong with you? What's wrong with y'all? You niggas are crazy. Black people, let me tell y'all something. If you don't ever hear me say preach again, they can kill me tomorrow. But let me tell you something. We're not going to ever get anywhere until we look into the mind of a black man. He doesn't think correctly. I don't care what he is. He can be a doctor. He can be an astrophysicist. The nigga ain't got no sense. You talk to him. You talk to a black man. He doesn't understand the world. He's never built anything. The most the black people have ever done, they did it here in America under white people's help. When they were in Africa, they didn't do nothing.
Hello all, and welcome back to my Get Ready to Unsubscribe From Me channel, Red Femme Diaries. Hey all! Alright guys, so this is the video. This is the one. Y'all not about to like what I'm about to talk about. You've already seen part of it, and I know some of you have probably already clicked off, but I have no choice but to do it. I've been wanting to discuss the things I'm about to discuss for so long. I've been thinking about these. I've been thinking about these things for so long. And now here's my opportunity. And I'm scared, y'all. Seriously, I'm nervous. I don't know how to handle this topic. It's a rough topic. And it goes right into the heart and the foundation of this nation. It's like there is this big, huge, pink, purple, polka-dotted elephant in the center of our country. And no one wants to say it. No one wants to talk about it. There is an issue with black people. It's not a small issue. It's a very large issue. It's not just an issue with the black people here in America, in the United States, but it's also an issue with the black people on the entire continent of Africa. We are on the bottom on most things. I'm not going to list them out. I thought about that, but I'm not, because I don't think it's necessary. When I say that we as black people are on the bottom, I believe that everyone that is within the sound of my voice knows exactly what I'm talking about. But if you dare say that there is a problem, a major problem with black people as a whole, you will most definitely be silenced. So in this video here, do you guys like how I talked all slow and dramatic? I kind of like that. I had to kind of make it a little bit gloomy. But in this video here, I want to discuss, why that is. Anyway, let's just go and discuss it. That's so stupid. Why am I going to talk about what we're going to discuss when I can just start discussing it? Oh my gosh. The unfortunate thing about black people worldwide, in a sense, being on the bottom of the totem pole, is that we have this condition that happens. We're all on the bottom. Subconsciously, we know that, but we don't want to say it or admit it. And so what we have is what all of us know as the crabs in a barrel syndrome, where because we're subconsciously on the bottom, we're constantly fighting and clawing at each other to get to the top of the bottom, right? Y'all are on the bottom, but I'm okay. And so we will step on our brother or our sister, well, that's if you're in Christ. Sorry, that's something else. You'll step on another black person's back to claw your way to the top because you want to be the top of what we perceive and what we've accepted as the bottom. And so you have crabs in a barrel. This issue is very deep, but I can't sit here on this short YouTube video and break all the history of the reasons for our circumstances down in this short period of time. But what I can do is I can take a very generalized sweep of history and why we're in the position that we're in. The thing about it is, you always hear, not just black people, but other races talk about how evil white people are because they've conquered and, they've done all this to other nations. But I guess I see it in a different way, especially when it comes to Africa. How was it that the Europeans were so easily able to come down and they literally divided up the land. The British, the French, the Dutch, all these different ones. They came in and literally just divided up Africa amongst themselves because, as we all know, Africa was rich in resources. And Africa is one of the largest continents. It's huge. Doesn't look like it on the map, but it is huge. Overflowing with resources that the local people sat on and did nothing with. And so the way things go, there's no way that other nations are just going to sit back and let a continent flowing with resources, just oil, diamonds, gold, so whatever you need, it is there. And so somebody was going to make use of it. The problem is, what black people do is they say, oh, the evil white man, they came and they want to destroy. The problem is we were unable to defend ourselves. It was like taking candy from a baby. And the thing about it is, nation always rises up against nation. Nations, before there was a whole lot of global travel, they rised up against each other. A lot of that was going on in Africa. A lot of tribal wars. We're all black people, but constantly fighting each other. It sounds familiar, doesn't it? Chicago. You know what I'm saying? But that's just kind of how it goes. But in this case, we lost. Where you had white people that had ships, navigation, trade routes, a means to dig up all the different resources, everything. We still had spears and shields. We were no match. There was one battle that I was learning about. It was one of the final battles for the overtaking of South Africa, and it was like 10,000 Zulu warriors, and I think it was like against 496 British soldiers, and of course they demolished them because they had guns. We didn't have guns. We had everything here to create that, but we did not do it. Now, some of you are going to have a list of reasons. There's geographical reasons why we were unable to keep up with Europe and Asia and whatnot. Geographical reasons, we were cut up into very small tribes, and so that's the reason, different languages, and that's why we couldn't communicate to be able to make use of the resources. There's literally probably hundreds of different reasons, excuses, whatever you want to call it, for why we were so behind everyone else. But the reality and the fact is, we were behind. Okay, now I'm about to show some videos. Well, actually, we're not going to go there yet. I just want to stay here for just a moment. It seems as if sometimes history repeats itself. We holler, Black Pride, and when Black Lives Matter came out, and y'all saw the videos, in the beginning here. Black Lives Matter, like as if that was necessary to say. We had to make sure that everyone knows that Black Lives Matter because we don't believe that Black Lives Matter. That's the kicker. That's the thing. We get so mad at others that do not like us because we're black, But in reality, we hate ourselves more than any other race does. We do. We hate ourselves. Crabs in a barrel. We just want to claw our way. Because the thing about it is, in our minds, when you're black, even if you're a millionaire or billionaire, you still are not on the same level as a thousandaire white person. We think that. How can that be Red Femme Diaries? No, Red Femme Diaries. Us black folk are proud to be black, Red Femme Diaries. How sad we are. We have our women. We're so beautiful. We're so wonderful. We're so great. We're kings and queens. But we have a vast majority of our black women walking around here calling themselves bad bees while wearing the hair of another daggone race of woman. But you're queens though, right? It's so embarrassing. And don't think that we're fooling anybody. Everyone across the globe can see us for who we are. We're the fattest group of people here in the United States. Ridiculous. You're a bad bee, but wearing the 100-inch yaki or whatever. I went to a work meeting just today, and there were 8 black women in the room. Wait, well, I might have that off. But anyway, it was half and half. Half had on their natural hair, half had on wigs. And for the white women, not one of them had on fake hair, none of the men, just us. And it's clownish and it's foolish for anybody else. But for us, we get a pass because everybody knows that the black community is special needs. That's why nobody even so much as bats an eye at the foolishness that we do. I just think in my mind, what if white women all of a sudden started pulling out their hair and shaving their heads and gluing on lace front black afros? We would think that they were all insane. But we watch black women do that and then dark as midnight and paste on blonde hair and all of it silky, and no one bats an eye, because the reality of it is, even black folk don't give a damn about black folk. Now that preacher that you guys heard, I know his language was very rough, but I say this, they'll give you a PhD in underwater feminine studies if you want. So I don't have the same sort of admiration for a degree as I did in the past, because all universities are huge indoctrination camps. Now the next thing, here in the United States, we had the Black Manosphere that was growing in, and I did a video myself. I might put it in either the description or one of the videos you can click on at the end. But I praised the Black Manosphere and I applauded us because I'm like, finally, maybe we're starting to get somewhere. But the crab's in the barrel. I started the movement. No, I did. Well, you making all the money. I'm supposed to be making all the money. From what I understand, I heard that there's fighting in the Black Manosphere. I don't know because I don't really keep track. But it's bound to be. History repeats itself. It's sad. We're not like everybody else. It's because we're on the bottom. And the bottom is a terrible place. The women won't respect their men because they feel that their men is on the bottom. That's why they always say, oh, I'm not protected. They don't believe that they are protected because they see you as at the bottom. So they don't respect y'all. And I don't get me twisted. I've done a couple of videos about this topic. It's so disturbing and it's so incredibly sad because at the end of the day, just like women, black people have been given a certain place on this earth. And it's the same as everyone else's. And that is to submit to the will of God. And the only way I can see us ever getting out of the low position that we're in, is that we turn to God. And we had We had a way to show the world how awesome God is, that after slavery, that if we had followed God and continued to follow him, we could have been an amazing people. We're not broke. Billions upon billions of dollars are spent every year on hair from the black women. So there's money in our communities. But we buy hair, millions upon billions of dollars on Jordans. Because when you're low, you want to try to put on fancy, shiny things so you can bring yourself up. But what I'm trying to tell you, black folk, you're not. Listen, technically, yes, we are on the bottom, but you as an individual don't have to be. I don't carry myself like I'm on the bottom. Doesn't mean I need to wear a bunch of riches. As a matter of fact, Kevin Samuels said that the other day. He says, when you run into women that put on so much wigs and thick makeup and lashes and nails and all these things to be extra, extra feminine, it's because they don't have it inside them. So they try to make themselves appear feminine on the outside when they have no true femininity on the inside. And same with black people. We want to claw our way up and look fancy and have a great expensive $50,000 car, but driving it up into an apartment because you want to make yourself feel like you're higher than what you are. But I'm here to tell you all that we're beautiful, that we're wonderfully and beautifully made, that God created us, black folk, and even if we're quote unquote on the bottom, somebody has to be. But if we want to stop being on the bottom, we must turn to the true and living God. How can a people be boastful yet hate themselves at the same time? It makes absolutely no sense to me, but that's the position that we're in. Sorry guys, I was getting a little emotional there. Let me calm down. Let me wrap this up before I play the last couple of videos. It's real funny because you notice that us black people here in the United States, we're so confused. Some of us. Me personally, I'm an American. My ancestors slaved here and they helped to, I'm not going to sit there and say they built this nation. No, they assisted because essentially the white people laid the groundwork. So my ancestors helped to build this great nation. I'm thankful that now I'm able to be here and succeed and have a relatively free life. Well, we used to until this current invasion. What I think is funny is all those that are so pro-black, they a lot of time exhibit a lot of Egyptian artifacts, pyramids and ankhs and all these things. And I always wonder about that because most of the slaves were taken from sub-Saharan Africa, and Egypt is up north to the east. But the reason why they did that, because that is one of the most advanced civilizations that ever came out of Africa. Where we came from, South Sudan, there wasn't a whole lot of that. And so there's shame in that. And so that's why you see so many black people over the last decades, especially the 80s and 90s, really latching on to Egyptian culture and dynasties because it was so fantastic for those times. But that wasn't us. Those Africa is not a country, it's a continent. But I think I've said enough. It's really so sad and heartbreaking because we have so many wolves in sheep's clothing all around to devour and use us. And essentially that's what the Democratic Party has been doing, using us. When you look at the NAACP, the BLM, a lot of these mega church pastors that we have, all they are is opportunists. We must stay in a state of victimhood and oppression in order for these groups to make their money. Black Lives Matter has to holler about how the white man is killing us and how we're victims. They have to do that because that's what makes money right now. They don't care about the dozens of shootings and killings that happen every weekend in these major democratic, predominantly black urban cities. They don't care that that's the #1 cause of death, homicide, and not shootings from police officers. They don't care about that, right? Because they're opportunists and they're looking to make money. And there's other people in high up places that want to take this country down, and they're already in the process, and they are absolutely using us because we were a thorn in the flesh of this nation, so they can use us, right? Oh, but anyway, I think that's enough. I rambled on enough. Who even knows what I was talking about? Anyway, we're about to watch a couple of more videos here. The two video here, they're about corruption. If you notice in this entire video, I've been kind of comparing and contrasting Africa's relationship with God with the Americans here and America's relationship with God, and showing you the problem that both positions are experiencing. In these next few clips, you're going to see about some corruption that's going on in Africa, and then you're going to see some of the corruption that's going on here in the churches. You have that going on, you know. All right, y'all. I think I've done enough to destroy my channel. What do you think? We were doing pretty good. I'll probably go down to 2,000 subscribers after you guys listen to this. Anyway, we're going to look at the last two videos here of corruption in Africa, I said, and corruption in the black church. We're going to sort of compare and contrast that and see how our own self-hatred has really caused our demise. All right, y'all. So before they come on, please like this video, share this video, and subscribe to my channel. This is Red Femme Diaries. Goodbye.
Heard or cared about it if they hadn't discovered vast oil deposits just offshore. So much oil, in fact, that at the rate this tiny country is growing, in 10 years it could be the richest in the world. The trouble is, most of the oil money is being pumped directly into the president's pocket. He's living like a king while his people starve. The two-bob, tin-pot tyrant who runs this tiny African backwater gets around with an entourage worthy of a superpower. And he is just about the most horrible despot in the world today. President Teodoro Obiang Nguema Mbasogo. His people are amongst the poorest on earth, and he's amongst the richest.
This is one bad place. It's had one of the most appalling human rights records, probably in the world. Regular torture, regular extrajudicial killings. Until people found oil, nobody was really talking about Equatorial Guinea.
The oil here is attractive because it's non-Arab, non-OPEC, non-Muslim, and the rigs are well out of reach of the pesky natives. The main island of this tiny nation is in what detractors call the armpit of Africa. A small Australian company, Rock Oil, is drilling here, but it's mostly American giants, particularly ExxonMobil. To begin with, they gave Equatorial Guinea, the oil's owners, just 12% of the oil revenues. The norm is more like 60%, according to Alex Vines, an African specialist with the Royal Institute of International Affairs.
Initially, the oil companies gave Equatorial Guinea a really bad deal.
They took advantage of him.
Certainly to start with. The government of Equatorial Guinea had not a clue what it was dealing with at the time.
The main square in the capital is a quaint throwback to Spanish colonial times. Elsewhere, the city is mostly a slum, with little running water and essentially no sewerage. The government stopped us filming here but we manage these shots from our hotel window. Whilst the oil fires flicker on the horizon at night, students with no electricity at home study under the streetlights that illuminate the drive to the presidential palace.
It's a very bad, evil government, and Exxon, I think, to a shame, is in bed with them.
Frank Ruddy is doubly qualified. He was once the American ambassador to Equatorial Guinea and once a lawyer for Exxon.
The shameful part is that you have a great company like Exxon Mobil, which is tied in with this very corrupt government. The president treats the Treasury as his own patrimony. And so to do business with somebody like that and to basically literally feed his coffers, I think it's shameful.
The president and his family are frequently overseas. First son, Teodoro Jr., is partial to Paris and its finest hotels. Incredibly, he once allowed French television to tag along on a shopping spree. But a Bentley can be hard work in Paris traffic.
C'est Paris. Pour le soir, vous avez dit? Pour le soir, si vous avez des cocktails ou des gens...
A fashion house closed its doors to give Junior exclusive access to the merchandise. But whilst their Paris ambassador did his job. Teodoro bought 30 suits that day, browsed for a new watch, and then took the Lamborghini down the Champs-Élysées to get some CDs. Would it be churlish to suggest that maybe it's excesses like this that cause so little to be spent in the slums back home?
The actual expenditure on health and education has significantly declined in the last 5 years. And think of it, the last 5 years are when the oil wealth has really been kicking in. So although the country's getting richer, actually the people are getting poorer. The money is going elsewhere. It's not going to the benefit of the people.
Good morning. This church behind me is like any house of worship. It is nonprofit and tax exempt, but it is also highly controversial, most recently when the pastor asked the faithful to help him travel the world in style.
Dream for the best house. Dream for the best car.
He's a pastor named Dollar who preaches the prosperity gospel. The more you give, the more you shall receive.
Just because the world don't have it, don't mean you can't have it.
Creflo Dollar's sermons pack his 8,500-seat megachurch. His ministry has prospered with satellite churches in at least a dozen states and hundreds of thousands of online followers.
I am the resurrection.
Dollar owns this multi-million-dollar mansion and condo. In March, his website asked the faithful to help him buy something else.
To give contributions of $300 or more.
A $65 million Gulfstream G650 jet, the top of the line in luxury air travel. One church member, Mary Jones, plans on answering the pastor's call, even though she rides the bus 20 miles every Sunday to Dollar's church.
We support our pastor. That's what we're here for. The work that he do and where the Lord have him traveling, he doesn't need a cheap airplane. He needs the best.
But